Welcome to Neighborhood Update. We and Cable Access are continuing to broadcast shows related to COVID-19, which has brought the entire world to a halt. Today we are checking in with the faith-based community, and my guest is Reverend David Lima, Executive Minister of the Interchurch Council. He is also the pastor of New Seasons Worship Center. Welcome, Reverend Lima.
Thank you for having me.
You need no introduction. You also wear many hats. You serve on several boards and commissions, and you have been appointed as the chair or co-chair of the Complete Count Census Committee. And I say that to say that with all of the hats that you wear and being a man of faith, you see the coronavirus pandemic from a different lens with everything that you're involved with. So tell me, how is COVID-19 impacting the faith-based community from where you sit as the executive minister?
Well, probably the most dramatic thing, period, is, and to remind everyone that ministers are human too. So we have the same fears and concerns for us, for our families, our loved ones, our spouses, our children, ourselves, but especially for our congregations and the people that we serve. There's been a lot of changes that have occurred just in the last, few weeks, and some have been dramatic changes. And I think one of the biggest things that concerns me, both with some of the many hats that I wear, is the rumors that are going around. Mm-hmm. Yes, this is important, and we need to take this seriously. We have to be conscious of social distancing. We have to be conscious of keeping our hands clean and not touching our faces, which I'll probably warn the audience now, you may catch me at least a couple of times, because it's a habit that we all have, and it's hard to break habits.
Yes. Yes.
I had cataract surgery recently, and I'm recovering well, and but I put drops in my eyes, and if you put drops in your eyes, usually you get a little bit of spillage, and you wipe, with your hand and everything, and it's a self-conscious act. Mm-hmm. And we're having to retrain ourselves a little bit. Mm-hmm. I joked with my congregation that I now have alligator skin because I've been washing my hands so much.
Yes.
Mm-hmm. But I think the biggest thing is the concern of getting good information, timely information from the right sources.
Yes, and we have talked about that on future shows, and we past shows rather, and we've given websites that we recommend that people check on a regular basis. What are you doing at the ICC in terms of, are you having regular meetings as part of this with some of your member churches?
Well,
to see how they're responding.
Again, what we have done, trying to follow what the governor, the president, mayor, the local, everybody has different numbers in terms of being able to meet and everything else. So right now, I think the one that everybody is trying to use is the no more than 10. Let's face it, some families are more than 10, and we're still not of the mind. And I'm not saying people aren't taking it serious yet. I think more and more are starting to take it serious, but there's still a lot of doubts that are out there and fears and concerns. So what we started doing at the Interchurch Council is I sent out an email to a lot of people. We were going to have a breakfast meeting, the ministers that are involved with the Easter sunrise service.
Oh, yes.
And
right.
We have to do the planning. That's only a few weeks out. On April 12th is Easter.
That's right.
And with the cuts that they are having in terms of group getting together, we may not be able to hold Easter sunrise service on Easter. We're talking about, we celebrate Christ every day. Mm-hmm. We can hold Easter in the summer and not worry about winter coats,
That's right.
Just ask people not to come in their tank tops and bathing suits, that's all. Mm-hmm. But the thing is not to make light of any of this, but we are having discussions. How can we support one another? And for the ICC, we like many have gotten online service. We're using Zoom, and we're having face-to-face meetings on our phones, tablets, and/or computers.
And how, began the show with the various hats that you wear. So as a pastor of New Seasons Worship Center, how are you responding to this? How are you administering to your church members?
Look, I think for all of us, this is something totally new. We've always wanted for church services, prayer groups, Bible studies, we always want people to come to the church. Because that's where we're family and we have support from one another. Obviously, right now, especially with the restrictions that are in place, which I do want to make sure, because I've heard some people say this is an attack on the faith community and, government's trying to shut us down. Government has asked everybody. We're all in the same place.
Absolutely.
Everybody has been asked to lower their numbers of gathering, to be social distance. That's why we're doing a split screen today. So it may look like I'm looking at, the wall instead of looking at you, even though I'm looking at you because of the way the cameras are.
Right.
We're trying to practice what the experts are saying are the best things we can do.
But yet we're still trying to do the responsibilities.
We're trying to be normal.
That we need to do.
We're trying to be normal, and that's where we start having these concerns. And so this past Sunday, I did have service, even though when the governor said, no more than 100. East Freetown, where my church is located, no more than 50. And so, I warned my church. I told everybody I would be there, and I will be continuing like many others, and we'll talk about that in a second. Because we stream online. And I had about 40 people show up on Sunday, which Freetown had said down to 50. New Bedford had said they were recommending no more than 25. So I had 40 people. But some of my people, especially in churches where you've known each other for so long, you greet each other with the hug and the kiss. And I warned people, don't do that. And I still had people that were almost, I don't want to say defiant, but full of faith. Well, this isn't going to hurt us. We're trusting God to protect us. And we should do all that, but we should also be socially conscious. And though you may have the faith that keeps you, where you are,
absolutely,
somebody else might not, and it causes concern. So,
and Reverend, I always look at the silver lining, and I think that this is going forward, we're going to learn to question things and to do things differently. For example, communion and the communion cup. There are some churches where everybody drinks out of that one cup, and yes, your faith tells you this is the blood of Christ and we're all protected, but the other side, the intelligent side of you reminds us, and certainly what we're seeing now, that we're spreading germs. And everybody that comes there are going to be people that are sick, and they're not going to stay home, and they are going to drink out of that cup. So I think that as a society, it's also about learning to protect ourselves and do what we do, but do it in different and safer ways.
And don't get me wrong, the one thing I want to be clear is that, I speak for myself, my family, my church. There are different denominations. They are making changes. They are doing things different, and maybe they will change practices in the future. And that's going to be for all of us to self-determine. Right. But the thing is, and I think this is the important thing, it's the fact that we are starting to be more considerate about what we have to do to be socially responsible at the moment. And so for the churches and the faith community, we're reaching out. In fact, we would ask any church leader on the South Coast, if you want to be a part of a weekly meeting that happens at 9 o'clock on Friday mornings, then just contact me. I'll give you my email at the council is pastor, PASTOR, at iccgnb.org. text me. I'll add you to the invite. You'll be able to join in and hear what each of us are doing. And there's actually a Google Doc being put together by Jordan Long from the Unitarian Church of Fairhaven. Again, because they have some resources that they're willing to offer to the community. Volunteers that, her church, many other churches. So we're putting this document together that, maybe you have somebody that is quarantined, doesn't want to go out or is fearful of going out.
Okay.
You got volunteers that are willing to go and do the shopping for you, drop it off on your porch, do things like that. I think that that's one of the things that we may need to be doing and be prepared to do. And so we're trying to coordinate those services as best we can.
That's great to hear, because we also have received a couple of calls at the Department of Community Services from churches that are asking, how can we help the community? And I think the way to help the community is for the faith-based community to come together, to work together for the common purpose of how do you bring healing, how do you bring peace and comfort to those in the community who need it now and are going to need it as this continues. So I think that's very important. The Google Doc, is there an address for that we can put on the screen?
Not yet, because I'm not technically savvy enough with it yet, and it's just got started. This is just getting started.
Okay.
But as soon as we have it, we'll put it on our website, our Facebook page. I have a newsletter that goes out. We will list any churches that want to be listed. So again, send me anything. You can go and find our email and find our contact information anywhere. But send us your information. We'll make sure it's listed, and we'll send it out on a weekly basis. If you stream your services, a lot of folks are streaming online their church service. I've been doing that for a while. I know a lot of the larger churches do that.
They do.
I would, if you're a congregant, I would be talking to your pastor or your priest, your rabbi, your imam. I would be talking to the people that you know, that you relate to find out what they may have in place. I know some ministers that haven't done this, but they're starting to do it because they basically need to.
And I think that's some of the good that is coming out of this. I think that a lot of our churches have not used technology in ways that they could benefit from it. So I think that that is a very good thing, because there are people that are on Facebook and they're asking for prayers. They're looking for something bigger than themselves that can give them some sort of inspiration. And churches, you can be on Facebook and you can just hit record, and you can go Facebook Live. So I think that even if daily, if churches could just some sort of inspirational message or something, you could be helping many people beyond your parish.
There's a variety of things. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to.
That's okay.
But there are a variety of things that we can do. You can do the Facebook thing. You can. Look, like I said, I actually got an account. The one that I'm on is Zoom, ZOOM.us. There is a free up to 40 minutes. Able to gather with over 100 people. I'm using it, and there's many others. There's GoToMeeting, there's Skype, there's a bunch of other ways. But I use it I'm using it for my Monday night Bible study, for my Thursday night. Last night was the first time I did it with everybody. And I had 12 people the first day. Now, I know everybody didn't get the message. I was talking to somebody. I said, did you get your email? They hadn't checked their email in 4 days, especially when we're talking about the elderly and things like that. Not everybody's technologically savvy or whatever. So you make a phone call or send a text. But I think that's the thing that we need to do. And remember, the minister can't do everything. So I would make an appeal to all of you. Reach out to somebody, especially if they're elderly, especially if they're more isolated and they don't go out in the first place. make a phone call, an encouraging word, share a poem, a devotional, a word of prayer, just saying hi. It's the thing that we should be doing anyway.
Absolutely.
And let's face it, after every disaster during our lifetime, 9/11, what did they say? After 9/11, we had more people coming together. Here is a difficulty because we have something that's happening and we're asking people not to be together. But there are ways.
Speaking of that, I remember being with you it was after 9/11, and how the community just had a need to come together and just be with each other. I remember us with candles on Cottage Street and singing. We were just singing songs, but I remember people saying, this is the first time I talked to a neighbor or met my neighbors. So you're right. This is a time, I think, for churches to reach out to their flock at the very least, making sure, just like the schools are calling all their students, call all your parishioners, see what their needs are. And if all churches could start there, you're helping many people within the community.
Without a doubt.
But let's also talk about some of the other responsibilities of clergy and how this COVID-19 is impacting that. Funerals, weddings.
It is not working well for what people want. If somebody has died, I know that the regulations, and they're asking again, people no more than 10. So I believe the Funeral Home Association, I don't know that's the exact term they use, but they've put out a notice that if there is a funeral, it would be immediate family only, and they would be doing distancing. Same thing with weddings. If weddings are going to take place, they will still do weddings in facilities and whatnot. But again, it would be immediate family only, and they're trying to keep everything just to 10.
And I think what some people are doing, I went to a wake recently, and you're right, the funeral was private, and they're doing the repast months later.
Right. You can always do memorial services, celebration of life services. When the dust settles on all this, there will be a time. In fact, there'll be a time to celebrate. There'll be a time for our churches and synagogues and houses of faith to just blow the top off and just everybody get together.
What about folks in the hospital that are sick and want that visit from their pastor, want the prayer, want communion? We are trying to work with the hospital administration right now to be able to see, at the very least, communication, okay? We're concerned not just for patients and being able to connect with them, and we can. Let's face it, if our faith is in a creator, that creator, though the creator says for us to be together, you talk to somebody, that's a connection. Right. You can call them on the phone, you can do these kind of things. And in fact, I was reading this morning about someone whose wife was in the nursing home, and he was able to be outside her window singing to her because he can't go in the nursing home. We've been seeing a lot of that, which is great. It is. We got to do some out of the box things, which at other times might be considered romantic, now is considered necessary. And but we're also concerned for the first responders, the nurses and the doctors, the cleaners of the hospitals, and the clinics and the community health center. These are places that are vital for our safety right now. And these people are not being, there is no option. You got to keep doing the work, and they're going to be the most at risk. Well, number one is the faith community, pray for everybody. Hold them up in your prayers. Keep them in your hearts and your minds. But also, again, let's support them the best we can. And we're working with the administration at South Coast to find out how we can still, even if it's a mass communication, be able to not only minister to the sick, but to the staff. Because, again, that's important at this time. Absolutely. Is there anything else that comes to mind that you would like to share with some of our viewers today, just to give them some emotional or spiritual guidance, comfort?
So, my faith is in Jesus Christ. Not everybody out there may be in the same place, and you may not be my type of church. You may be Catholic, you may be a mainline denominational church, but we also have our Jewish brethren, we have our Muslim brethren, we have people of other faiths in our community. The thing that I would tell you right now is find that place that's on the inside of you and look for peace rather than fear. Look to draw on your faith rather than the hysteria that's out there. That's one of the reasons why I'm trying to even tell my own church, don't get your news off Facebook. I don't care how reliable it looks. Don't do it. You know, go to some of our reputable news agencies. I'm not even telling you the networks because they're politicizing this way too much, depending on which one you're using. Go to your local TV, local radio, downline their apps. They're actually sending out reports. You know, one of the things that's been bothering the heck out of me is the rumors that just keep going out there. And there are shortages, but they're working on it. They are working on vaccines and things like that. It's not going to happen real quick, but there are other things that can be done. But again, personally, take that time to meditate, to pray, to center yourself. However best you know how to do it. Take that time to to put away all the craziness. Shut off the TV and the radio. Don't constantly watch the 24/7 news, because that just puts all that fear and everything else. It just raises a difficulty. But if you're getting the news that you need, here's the news that for me is the most important. God created us all. God still sits on the throne. God is still there for you, and God loves you. There are people that also care for you. And even if you're not in a house of faith, if you're not in a place where you are connected, there are people and places to connect. Absolutely. There are ways to do it. And that's for us to find out, how do we help the sick, the lost? How do we help the folks that are poor during these days?
And this is part of doing these shows on cable access. We want people to know that you can call ICC, you can call the Department of Community Services, you can call the Office of the Mayor. Once we have information, then we can find the resources and the referrals for the needs, but we have to know we're in this together.
Yes.
We've been stressing that. Thank you for your words of encouragement. That was very well stated. And the world is standing in need of prayer right now.
It is.
It
is.
It is.
But all of us coming together,
absolutely,
we can overcome this.
There's power in that.
Amen.
There's power in that.
Amen.
We know that COVID-19 has taken center stage, but also Census 2020 is hugely important to our community. And I want you to be reminded that you will be receiving your letters in the mail, and you can fill them out online. So please, please do that. And remember to love your neighbor as yourself. Be blessed, be strong, be prayerful, and we will get through this together. See you next time on Neighborhood Update.